Well, we weren't expecting that. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movies that surprisingly have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ants are savage, ruthless, and courageous fighters.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at theatrical releases, TV movies, documentaries, and other types of films that surprisingly have a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes as of December 2018, especially when compared to the reception it received at the hands of general audiences. We aren't saying that these movies are bad, far from it. They wouldn't be so highly acclaimed if they were. We just don't tend to associate these movies with such high critical reception, either because of their genre, subject matter, or the contrast between the critic and user scores. Number 10. Batman Under the Red Hood. Alright, let us lay out the facts. This animated superhero adventure flick was the highest rated direct-to-video movie about Batman when it came out, and it grossed over $10 million in home sales.
Well look, we obviously have got ourselves a player. Ow!
Alfred, take him home.
While it may have taken the DC Universe animated original movie series 7 prior attempts to reach such an overwhelming consensus with Rotten Tomatoes critics, it was all worth it when Under the Red Hood achieved that 100% approval rating. Sure, there are only 7 reviews, but this movie deserves all that praise and more. With its cinematic storytelling, mature themes, and stellar voice performances, you simply can't ask for much more when it comes to The Dark Knight.
But if I do that, if I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
Number 9. The Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Movie. Originally released as The Great American Chase, the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie is basically a greatest hits compilation movie.
Okay, Wabbit, now I got you. What's up, Doc?
The entire film consists of newly animated segments starring Bugs Bunny, bridging sequences compiled from the classic Warner Brothers cartoons. A clip show consisting of old cartoon segments is not really something you would expect to see have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yet there it is, although it is only from 6 reviews. Over at IMDb, it holds a more modest 7.3 on 10, with many people calling it a good compilation of older material and not much else.
Who is responsible for this? I demand that you show yourself! Who are you?
Number 8. Bill Nye Science Guy. We all loved Bill Nye as kids, but who honestly expected a documentary about his life to be so critically acclaimed? The documentary follows Bill Nye as he retires from children's television, stages a more mature career comeback, and argues against evolution and climate change contrarians on a national stage. The documentary was critically acclaimed, securing 25 fresh and 0 rotten reviews. However, general audiences were far more critical. As of writing, it holds a 70% user score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.8 on 10 on IMDb. The reasons, of course, are probably more political than anything else, but it's still interesting to note the huge dichotomy between the critics' and audiences' scores. Number 7. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is similar to the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie. It consists of 3 short, previously released featurettes about Winnie the Pooh, with extra material bridging the stories to create a cohesive whole and a shorter 4th featurette.
Is anybody at home? What I said was, is anybody at home?
No.
Bother. Isn't there anybody here at all?
It was a massive critical success that has retained quite the legacy. It holds a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes with 12 reviews, and was nominated in the animation category of AFI's Top 10 in 2008. When you think of the classic Disney movies that would have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, however, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is probably not the first movie that comes to mind.
Wherever they go, and whatever happens to them on the way, in that enchanted place on top of the forest, a little bear will always be waiting.
Number 6. The Witches. The Witches is another dark fantasy movie adapted from a Roald Dahl novel. As if Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory wasn't creepy and disturbing enough,
It's brilliant. Poison.
The Witches holds the rare and coveted 100% on Rotten Tomatoes with 33 fresh reviews, with most critics praising the masterful puppet work of Jim Henson Productions and Angelica Houston's performance as the Grand High Witch. That said, it's quite surprising considering that the movie was generally ignored by mainstream audiences and performed poorly at the box office. Even Roald Dahl despised the adaptation, calling it utterly appalling.
I don't believe it. You don't believe it?
Number 5. Creep 2. The Creep films are frightening low-budget movies from Mark Duplass and Patrick Brice about a psychotic man who lures people to various locations under a pretense, only to toy with them in increasingly malicious ways.
My story, I am what is commonly known as a serial killer. I don't love that nomenclature. I sort of consider myself a murderer, but my numbers are such that I am now classified as a serial killer.
Both movies have earned critical acclaim, with the first scoring 92%, and the sequel earning the coveted 100% with 17 reviews. General audiences are more lukewarm towards the movies, with the first earning just a 6.3 on IMDb, and the second a 6.4. General audiences just don't seem to be as creeped out as the critics. However, it's not rare to see such a major discrepancy in critic and audience scores when it comes to horror movies.
You're afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm not gonna stab you here. I love you too much. Take it.
Number 4. Hearts of Darkness, A Filmmaker's Apocalypse. Hearts of Darkness, A Filmmaker's Apocalypse is a documentary about the infamous and legendary production of Apocalypse Now.
My film is not about Vietnam.
C'est pas au sujet du Vietnam.
It is Vietnam.
C'est le Vietnam.
Stories of the production have been Hollywood legend for decades, and A Filmmaker's Apocalypse beautifully and intimately showcases these trials and tribulations. The doc has earned critical acclaim, scoring a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and a National Board of Review award for Best Documentary.
Francis tried to stop it, and he called for a doctor. There was a nurse standing by, and I said, no, let it go. I want to have this out right here and now. It had to do with facing my worst enemy, myself.
But what's most surprising is that this documentary has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Apocalypse Now, which sits at 96%. Yeah, Apocalypse Now has many more reviews, but it's still interesting to see a documentary about the making of a movie have a higher score than the acclaimed movie itself.
Horror. Horror.
Number 3. Jesus Christ Superstar Live in Concert. Who knew that a live NBC production of Jesus Christ Superstar would be one of the most acclaimed pieces of entertainment in 2018?
To conquer death, you only have to die. You only have to die.
This production aired on NBC on Easter Sunday 2018 and starred various notable entertainers, including Alice Cooper as King Herod, Sarah Bareilles as Mary Magdalene, and John Legend as Jesus.
Oh, watch me die.
The production was a resounding success, earning nearly 10 million live viewers and scoring a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics singling out its originality and performances. It was later nominated for multiple Primetime Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Directing and 3 acting categories. Number 2. Them. You wouldn't expect that a movie about giant irradiated ants becoming a national threat could be so acclaimed. Don't get us wrong, we love science fiction, but this is some prime B-movie material that has wormed its way into classic status. The movie was well received when it was first released in 1954, and it spawned numerous nuclear monster movies that became big hits in the post-World War II era.
A fantastic mutation, probably caused by lingering radiation from the first atomic bomb.
It's only grown in stature since, as it currently holds a 100% and is generally regarded as one of the best creature features of the 50s.
When man entered the atomic age, he opened a door into a new world. What we'll eventually find in that new world, nobody can predict.
Number 1. Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 3D. Now, before you get your pitchforks, hear us out here. Terminator 2 is a fantastic movie.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
You forgot to say please.
In fact, we'd say that it's one of the greatest action movies of all time, and arguably the greatest sequel ever made. But did it really need a 3D conversion? And even if it did, it's surprising to see that the 3D version has a higher rating than the original. The conversion has scored the coveted 100% based on 24 reviews, whereas the original stands at a surprisingly low 92% with 77 reviews. Are we really that enamored with 3D?
I know now why you cry. but it's something I can never do.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.